Balanced Literacy Presentation by Felicia Graves. First, I'm going to talk about the key considerations in a balanced literacy approach. First, you got to start with teaching basic skills like sounding out the letters of the alphabet, the grammar, where to put things, rhyming, and spelling. You can do this by flashcards, having children practice what rhymes with hat and cat, and just simple spelling. Another thing is effective group planning, using planning to determine what activities will be one-on-one, whole group, and small group. What is meant by that is when teachers are doing lesson plans to determine whether an activity would be better one-on-one, if they need to learn it as a whole group and as a small group, like reading a story aloud to children or giving children magazines to cut out letters for their letter recognition, and even having students practice writing their own name could be a one-on-one activity. The next is covering content, having students create a what they know chart or book. So when you are introducing a new topic or a theme, you can ask the children what they know or what they want to know or what they think they're going to learn about the unit, and having them write it on a chart, or even you making the chart for younger children. For older children, they can make their own book and discuss and write down what they're going to learn in the unit. The next component is dealing with assessment, using portfolios to show students progress in an ongoing learning curve. As we know, we have like the Common Core and all the testing that we do, but for parents, using portfolios, you can show them what the students have learned and is an ongoing learning. Next slide is instructional approaches you will need to use to teach. Early emergent literacy, it can include introducing books as early as possible. So even in preschool, having children practice where the front of the book is, the back of the book, the title, the author, that gives them a foundation. Next is reading and oral language. Having read-alouds to children at a young age helps develop children's literacy. So like I said, having a read-aloud in a whole group, you can ask and answer questions with the children, and they can develop reading skills through there. Introducing literacy in fun materials. So a good activity I like to do is get like magazines, and then they cut out letters that they see. So that gives them an idea of what they're looking for, and those are also new materials that they might not have seen before. Another thing is provide real-life experience. The interests of reading, writing are generated when it is connected to the study and real-life experiences. So something you can do is have children like pick out a book that's connected to the theme, and then they can talk about whether they have done this in real life or have they seen this before, connecting it back to their real life experiences. Another thing is meeting specific needs. Children in social settings and also adults must serve as a model for children. So scaffolding children who have trouble with reading with certain sounds, or discussing the writing, helping children meeting children where they're not. Another thing is support your plan, how it aligns with the Common Core. I live in Michigan, so the Michigan Early Childhood Standards of Quality for Pre-Kindergarten. This aligns with what I just said I was going to do, because early learning expectation number 1 is emergent reading. Children begin to understand written language. So like I said, when I was going to give them books and like the magazines, they're understanding that that's something that can be read. And my plan is to introduce literacy as soon as possible in ways like sounding out letters, read aloud, and print concepts. Another expectation is writing skills. Children begin to develop writing skills to communicate and express themselves. So my plan would be to introduce words that can be written in a form of literacy and will help them create ways to express their needs. Also, my plan, another expectation is early learning expectations are spoken language expressive. Children develop abilities to express themselves clearly and communicate ideas to others. So when we're in like read alouds and they're answering and asking questions, they're connecting the ideas and they're expressing how they feel or how it might make them feel. Just to plan how your plan incorporates language across the curriculum includes strategies for teaching students with limited language proficiency. So another standard is receptive English language skills. Children demonstrate an increasing ability to comprehend or understand English language at an appropriate developmental level. I plan to implement language across the curriculum, even with dual language learners, is to provide pictures with labels in both English and the native language. Continued, in the article, Young Children, it states, try to provide fluent models for each home language. Invite volunteers and family community members who are fluent in children's languages to read circles for new storybooks and to have informal conversations with children. My plan is to ask children who are fluent in both languages to translate while pointing and reading in English to them. Also, restating and rereading the story over and over again will help them understand the words in English and to be able to see them. Explain how your plan incorporates the 21st century requirement for children to be techno-literate. Develop appropriate teaching practices must always guide the selection of any classroom materials, including technology and interactive media. Teachers must take the time to evaluate and select technology and media for the classroom. Carefully observe children's use of the materials to identify opportunities and problems and make them appropriate adaptations. My plan is to introduce literacy at a young age in various ways, providing developmentally appropriate books, having a CD player that reads to children, having props so that children can retell the stories. One thing that I like is having the CD player that has books and having the book in front of them so children can follow along and they can begin to recognize the words and the sounds that the letters make. These are my resources, the Early Childhood Standards, Go Book, of course, NACY, and that's it. Thank you for listening.